My name is Jason Cabo. My position is the Director of Men's Basketball Strength and Conditioning, and I came from UNLV, where I was there for 23 years. I had knee injuries, ACL injuries when I was younger, and it kind of got me into the rehab part of it. As I got into the rehab part of it, I kind of started trying to investigate the preventative area of injuries, and how to prevent injuries through strength and training and movements. So that's really what kind of got me into the strength and conditioning. I basically break down their movements. What do they do on the court? What do we do defensively that's gonna dictate how they move or how they should move? The guys that don't usually catch just do the high pulls. So you're doing 2, 2, and 2, 2 pulls, 2 high pulls, 2 catch. That with guards and bigs. Bigs, obviously sometimes you have a big that plays with their back to the basket. Some bigs face up, maybe pick and pop. So you have to do different things with different guys, and I think that's where individualization comes into play a lot more.
You see that one?
You have to learn sometimes to fail in here to accomplish, goals of getting stronger or pushing through. Learning to push yourself to that point where you're failing, in some cases just uncomfortable. Maybe you don't make the time, on a sprint or a conditioning drill on week 1, but the expectation is to make that on week 4. Good. Taking that failure and learning how to push to get to the achievement point is really how you go about it. We test all of the NBA Combine metrics, so we do a lane agility test, we do a sprint test, vertical jump. So I take them through my own movement screen when they first come to campus. We also test throughout the year. We test different sprint tests. We do different power tests on watt bikes to see how much power they can produce, VO2 max, so on and so forth, where our imbalances are and all that kind of stuff. So testing is a big part of it. And then tracking that testing and then manipulating programs that we do in here in the weight room based on what the results are from those tests. If you're deficient lateral movement, then we do lateral movement stuff. If you're deficient in linear sprinting, we do that. If you have an imbalance right to left as far as absorbing force, creating force, so on and so forth, then we try to work on that throughout the year. My goals for them is to be really at the best of their ability, measured against professional numbers, right? All the NBA numbers athletically, them being in that mix as far as comparisons is really where I want the program to be, and then each class after that the same. So the goal of that is leave better than when you got here, really. Just do shoulder stretch with it. You can even do the chest stretch that we do in practice. That or a purple. Guards that play differently too, Fletch versus Braden versus CJ, versus whoever. So I think you break down the position of how those movements and skills need to be fine-tuned, and then look at the individual and their weakness areas and what they need to get better at to be better at that position. Philosophy-wise, use all my tools that I can to create a better athlete. In general, it's not about creating necessarily a better basketball player or a football player, swimmer, or whatever else. Create a better athlete, put that product on the floor, and then go from there. I do want to jump today, so regardless of how you feel, it's a little bit more of a speed workout. Get a jump after you're done. Cool? Yeah. All right, let's go. Biggest challenges is trying to put the puzzle together. When you put the puzzle together with what days should we lift heavy, what days should we go light, what days do we work on speed. And then really, they're still college students, so they got to juggle class schedules and all that kind of stuff. Having a great dietary plan, having dietary knowledge. Their diet is 50% of it as well. Don't neglect basic movements. Your meat and potatoes, your basic stuff is the best thing you can do as a young athlete. Whether that's just learning how to do a squat pattern, learning how to do a slide, learning how to sprint properly. If you take your basic strength movements and your basic athletic basketball movements and you can focus on those, you're going to be a better athlete.